Alright guys, I didn't really want to make 3 videos of me making a bench saw, but it's a bigger job than what I thought. It's a lot bigger than what I thought. So unfortunately I'm going to have to make this video just to show you how I finish it off. Otherwise 2 videos of starting it and then you don't see anything else. That's no good, is it? So I'm going to make this video as quick as I can, and then I can get on with my new project, which is something I'm really excited to show you. I've never done it before, but more about that once I finish this. So let's get on with this and let's get it finished. Let's get making. Now the trunnions are fitted, and they're a lovely fit. I can make the box that goes around the outside, and I can put the surface on. And once the surface is on, I can cut the hole in my bench and fit it all in position. Well, I'm really pleased. So far, it's all working. It tips to 45 degrees and back, and the slot is as minimum as possible, which is fantastic. So now what I've got to do is the hard bit, or the bit I'm not looking forward to, and that is I've got to cut a hole in my bench the same size as this box. Well, let's get on with it. Well guys, that's my table saw fitted into the bench. I'm dead happy about that. And I started to think, well, I'm nearly finished. And then I started getting a list in my head of all the things that I need to finish and realised I'm nowhere near ready yet. For example, I've got to fit these two rails into my bench for the slide to move in. I can't do that until the blade is in the upright position, because it's got to be exactly parallel with the blade, or else it'll be no good. Now, to get the blade in the upright position, I need to fit the mechanism which changes the angle of the blade. And once I've got that fitted, I can then raise the blade, fit these two slides, and also I have to make a fence, and the fence runs along a bar that gets fitted on here. That's got to be at 90 degrees to the blade, which has to be in the upright position. I've got absolutely loads to do. So, and did I mention I've got to fit a remote switch? Yeah, I think I did. Anyway, I better get on with it. Well, since I've got my disc cutter and my pillar drill and my welder all set up, I may as well cut the pieces for the slide for the fence, even though I'm not up to that stage yet, but it'll save me getting everything out again later, so I'm going to do that now. Well, that's the slide made for the fence. That just fits onto there, and then I can adjust it until it's exactly 90 degrees to the cutting blade, and then I can fix it to the table. And the reason I've put this piece on is because I'm a dozy bugger and I'll just keep walking into it, and if I don't have that on, I could hurt myself on the end of this bar. So I've made it nice and smooth. Well, now that you've just seen me make this, I think I've got everything I need to finish the tilt mechanism. So that's what I'm going to do now. So now that all the parts are made for the tilt mechanism, I fitted the support brackets to the table legs, and in the support brackets you saw me fit some bearings. And what I've done, I've fitted a wheel to a threaded bar which runs through the bearings. And then on the threaded bar I fitted this so that when I turn the wheel it runs along the threads and changes the angle of the box, which changes the angle of the blade. Now the next thing I've got to do, it's a bit tricky for me, as you know I'm not a professional. What I've got to do is I've got to fit 2 of these, one on each side, because I want to make I don't even know what it's called, a sledge or a slide or a table that moves backwards and forwards, and it runs in these grooves. These grooves have got to be absolutely parallel with the blade. Now the other thing is they've got to be on the outside of this table, because in the future at some point I'm going to need to remove this. They've also got to sit into the table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the blade, then I'm going to use this, which is the piece off my circular saw. I'm going to put it up against the blade. It's parallel, so then I can use this big clamp up against this, and I'll know for a fact that this is then parallel with the blade, and then I can run my circular saw through the table, move it the same as these, cut another, and then use my router to clean out the groove. It's 21mm, which means this has to be 18mm away from my lines, and that way this will fit perfectly into the slot. Well, I've got the rails fitted into my workbench. They still need trimming up, but I thought before I go trimming them up, I want to check, absolutely make sure that they're parallel to the blade. They measure okay, but the proof really is when you cut something. So I put this into the rail, I slid this up, so now I was just going to run something through the blade just to see if it was parallel, and then I realised not only is it not plugged in, but it's not even got a plug on. I forgot, I cut the plug off to pass it through a little hole in the box that I made earlier. So anyway, I don't just want to put a plug on, I want to fit the safety switch that used to be on my old table saw. So I'm going to dismantle that now, fit the safety switch, and then let's see if it works. Well, here's the switch, and if we look underneath, you can see 2 wires, one which runs to a plug and the other one which runs to the motor. So I've got to undo the switch and then remove the wire that runs to the motor and replace it with the one that runs to my table saw. That's a lot better. Well, I've done it. That was epic. Inside here there's loads of tricky little bits, and when I undid it there was bits everywhere. So I had to slowly go back through and put it all back together. It took that long. I just stopped filming because it was just ridiculous. But anyway, I've done it at long last. So I've just tried it and it works. Thank goodness for that. So now I can mount this onto the underside of my table, and I've almost finished. I'm leaving it for today. I'll come back tomorrow and carry on. Catch you later. I'm going having a beer. Well, I just said I'm going for a beer, but I forgot I wanted to get this switch fitted because that was my goal for today. So there it is. It's all fitted and it works. So now it's beer o'clock. Now that the rails are fitted, I've made 2 strips. I've fitted one onto this board already. That sits in the rail. Nice fit. The other one I've put into the rail, and now I'm just going to attach it to the board. Well, I've been in my garage about half an hour this morning. I've done nothing. I've just stood here looking and thinking how I'm going to do this. What I've got to do is I've got to make a clamp for the fence on the table saw. And there's loads of people who've done it on YouTube. There's absolutely loads, but everybody's situation's different. And, well, I'm going to give it a go, and it'll either work, or if it doesn't, at least I'll know why it doesn't work, and then I can change my design and make one that does work. So I'm just going to get on with it, just going to see what happens and see how it turns out. Well, that's all the pieces for the fence made. All I have to do now is glue them all together and make myself a little wheel so that I can tighten it all up against the fence slide. And then that's it, all finished. Once I'd put it all together, I checked it was parallel with the blade and tightened it up using a little wheel that I made. I gave it a good coat of wax polish, and then the last thing that I needed to do was give it a test. Perfect. Well guys, that's it. I'm all finished. I've got this fence with a clamping mechanism, runs along a slide. I've got the sled for cutting the smaller pieces, that runs along 2 rails. I've got a wheel for raising and lowering the blade, and another wheel for changing the angle of the blade. So now that everything's finished, it means I can start my new project. What is it? Well, it's something partly made out of wood, which is one of the reasons I wanted to make this table saw in the first place, but it's mainly made out of glass. I imagine you think you know what I'm going to make, but I'll bet you're wrong. If you don't want to miss it and you haven't done already, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching guys, catch you next time.